new psychological study from the National Institute of Mental Health.
Just this morning, along with his longtime
circle
psychiatrist.
of depression is growing wider, broader.
15% of women suffer from this disorder.
Affecting over 20 million Americans.
Changes that have occurred in the brain.
Abnormalities in the neurotransmitters.
Is that a chemical imbalance?
Patient's got a problem, they've got a drug.
6 million American kids take prescribed medication.
Need psychiatric care.
But what if the criminal is mentally ill?
The punishment, a form of aversion therapy.
10-minute cures on the show, but I want to...
Seasonal affective disorder.
OCD.
Oppositional defiant disorder.
Schools criticized for over-prescribing.
Où que vous regardiez, vous la trouvez. Vous ne pensez rien avoir à faire avec la psychiatrie? Réfléchissez-y. Le monde de la psychiatrie s'est immiscé partout dans votre vie.
They basically believe that everyone is mentally ill.
You smoke too much, it's a disease. You're too unhappy, it's a disease. You're too thin, it's a disease. You're too fat, it's a disease.
Where are these coming from? These are coming from the minds of psychiatrists that are dreaming these things up, writing papers and getting published with their names on it, creating these new diseases.
First he said that I had ADD. Then he said that I was depressed. Then he said I might be bipolar, but I don't have ADD anymore.
And he said, you know, I've been noticing you, and I wonder if you have it too.
What they decided is that both my husband and my son had a chemical imbalance that needed to be corrected with a chemical balancer.
There is not one shred of credible evidence that any respectable scientist would consider valid, demonstrating that anything that psychiatrists call mental illness are brain diseases or biochemical imbalances. It's all fraud.
There's no reliability of diagnosis, and there is no science. It's just pseudoscience. It's pretend science.
This is one of the most open secrets in all of America in the psychiatric field, that nothing is being done that's legitimate, and they're billing for it.
Les psychiatres prétendent que plus d'1 milliard de personnes sont mentalement malades. Depuis 30 ans, ils ont prescrit des psychotropes à 543 millions de personnes. Actuellement, ils prescrivent des stimulants et des antidépresseurs à 17 millions d'écoliers. Interrogés récemment sur l'aspect scientifique de leur profession, les psychiatres qui ont consenti à être interviewés n'ont donné que des excuses.
Psychiatric illness is not really illness.
How do you evaluate if someone is cured or sick?
Cure is certainly something we look forward to. We had no earthly idea how to accomplish.
We're not good at causes. We don't know what causes mental illness.
En dépit de cela, ils se déclarent experts dans le domaine de la santé mentale et continuent de traiter des gens contre leur gré. Quels en sont les résultats?
This psychiatrist, man who's supposed to work to heal people, has done nothing but destroy this man's life, and in destroying his life, destroying the lives of all of his loved ones. Excuse me.
They've damaged and ruined my son, and they've trapped him in a system.
The way that they treated him and made him feel like he was worthless.
Bryant was being kept dumb and high on Ritalin so that they could make $2,500 per month.
He gave me Valium, and I got addicted to it.
It wiped out my life.
My life has been ruined. My joy has been stolen.
She was lying there. She took two gasps of air and died right there in front of me.
It is really tragic. It's awful. And it's being done for money. That's why it's being done.
Oh, it's got to be in the billions. I don't know the exact number, but it's got to be in the billions. It's just unbelievable.
This is so big that it boggles the mind.
Considérez cette tragédie humaine et multipliez cela par des millions. Depuis 40 ans, il y a presque 2 fois plus de décès dans les hôpitaux psychiatriques américains que dans toutes les guerres américaines depuis 1776. Les compagnies d'assurance versent 69 milliards de dollars par an pour des soins psychiatriques, doublant le coût des primes d'assurance maladie. Et malgré 2 billions de dollars amassés par an, ils n'ont à leur actif aucune guérison. Difficile à croire? C'est exactement ce qu'ils espèrent. Et comme nous allons vous le montrer, c'est de cette façon qu'ils s'en sont tirés à bon compte depuis le début.
The roots of psychiatry have to do with control, power, and alienation from certain groups of people who were uncomfortable to be around. They were locked up in these places to get them out of the way. The history of psychiatry, I think, really is related to institutions.
L'hôpital royal de Bethléem à Londres fut l'un des premiers centres psychiatriques au monde. Surnommé Bedlam, l'hôpital n'était guère mieux qu'un entrepôt pour ceux considérés comme fous. Les internés étaient confinés dans des cages, des placards et des stalles, enchaînés aux murs et flagellés. Et l'asile, moyennant de l'argent, accueillait le public pour voir le spectacle. Au XVIIIe siècle, William Batty fut le premier à répandre l'idée que ces asiles pouvaient guérir les malades mentaux. Les maisons de fous de Batty ont fait de lui l'un des hommes les plus riches d'Angleterre, bien que ses traitements aient été tout aussi inhumains que ceux de Bedlam et qu'aucun patient n'ait été guéri. Son succès financier déclencha un boom commercial et une occasion pour les psychiatres de tirer profit de cette industrie florissante.
This was an era where, on both sides of the Atlantic, specialized institutions for the mentally ill are beginning to be built in large numbers. Those institutions date back certainly to the beginning of the 18th century, and in a few cases even earlier than that. But the explosive growth of an asylum sector, of asylumdom, as some historians have called it, is very much a 19th century phenomenon. It's that period when the state is persuaded to invest tax dollars in building these places.
Mais tandis que les directeurs des institutions s'enrichissaient, les psychiatres n'avaient pas encore suffisamment de crédibilité pour maximiser leurs profits.
In order to justify their profession, they needed to come up with these biological solutions, or they didn't have any profession. The only way for them to solve that was to attempt to start believing that these people that were suffering from emotional disorders was from a biological basis.
Whatever was done to make this person more manageable would be simply called a treatment. And the sad reality is that many of these so-called treatments were, in essence, torture.
The near-drowning devices that were developed in this period, for example, must have been appallingly frightening. For example, one device involved putting the patient into a coffin, closing the lid, and dumping it into a bath of water, and then opening it up and trying to revive the patient. There were a range of these things, and the mortality rate was very, very high.
Par la suite, les psychiatres ont cherché à rendre leur pratique crédible en l'affublant d'un langage médical. Ce remodelage du traitement a pris le nom de modèle médical.
Somebody who's really hyper and manic, if you're wrapped up in a cold sheet and dunked into some water, you're going to quit acting manic because that's a punishing treatment. So, but as soon as the symptoms started to go away, they started to believe that somehow by wrapping them up and dunking them in cold water, it was draining the toxics out of their body. So they built the medical model around that.
Mettant en avant la théorie biologique de la maladie mentale, l'Américain Benjamin Rush promut l'idée que la folie était causée par un excès de sang dans la tête. Le traitement, réduire l'afflux de sang par tous les moyens possibles. L'immobilisation, l'eau froide, les saignées, même la terreur. C'est ainsi qu'un nouveau modèle médical fut créé.
Benjamin Rush was probably the most famous American physician of the Revolutionary era. Rush was known as the master bleeder. He bled his patients for madness. He also invented something called the tranquilizer. It's a chair that looks a little bit like an electric chair. The patient was confined in this apparatus sometimes with cold water applied to his or her head, for some hours at a time, and Rush announces in a letter that he's invented this new contraption and dubbed it the tranquilizer.
Les méthodes souvent mortelles de Rush ont été détaillées dans un manuel de 1812 qui a fait autorité durant les 70 années qui ont suivi. Rush était tellement vénéré qu'en 1965,